hell is even that?
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Good evening, Jared. Good evening, everybody out there. Matt Kirby, good to see you. Penny Neer, welcome to the comment section here. Look, traditionally, the way that we do this on Thursdays is typically a fan-led show, but we're at that point in the year where college football, this is weird to me. College football is officially over. The season is officially done. It's just a really weird place to be. I think we're all trying to digest kind of, the season that happened and pairing that with being excited for the season that's coming. And as we normally do, first of all, Jared hops on here 5 minutes before we're supposed to go live. So we got no time to go over the show at all. There's no prep work going into this one. And then him and I start arguing and debating about college football postseason. We start having the argument and Jared's like, we just need to click the live and we need
What did I say? I said, dude, we're doing the pod right now. We should probably hit live. And you were like, oh, and I have to say this to the fans too. And I love this. Every show before, Chris and I talk a little bit, chit chat, and no matter what, if Chris comes in with a novel tabbed out of everything, or he doesn't, he always says, well, this is the one that could just go sideways. And then the last thing I hear before the music kicks on is fuck. Every single time. I love it. I just had the fans. We got to get some outtakes, man. They would love it.
If there's any belief out there that we have our shit together, or that I have my shit together, then we're doing an incredible job. If people think
that's
that.
Great.
Before we get into the football stuff, though, Jared, you don't live that far away from where I live. I'm guessing most people that are tuning in here are at Michigan. We already got the phone call for tomorrow that school is canceled because the wind chill is going to be like minus 20 degrees heading into the next morning. Which I find myself asking this question a lot lately, Jared, and I'm pretty serious about this. I'm pretty serious, and I think I mentioned it to you. I'm pretty serious. I don't know why anybody lives in Michigan. I don't know, and I hope there's no potential recruits watching this. Ann Arbor is a lovely place. This is exactly where you would want to come and go to school.
60 degrees in Ann Arbor. It's everywhere else.
In terms of living here, Jared, why do we do it? Why do we put ourselves through it? It's single digits all week. It's going to be in the negatives tomorrow. Why is it? And here you got Seth. See, look, Seth, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I know a lot of people say this. A lot of people say this, and especially us Michiganders here in the wintertime when everybody's sick of it in February and it's just kind of dragging out. A lot of people say, I'm just going to move to Florida. I think I'm just going to move to Florida. There are real legitimate conversations taking place in our household about potentially relocating. We are trying to figure out why. Listen, man, we vacation down there. I feel like I do suffer from seasonal depression. I look outside and everything's gray. There's no color. It's absolutely cold. I don't know what I'm here for. I'm not an outdoorsman guy. I'm not hunting in the winter. I don't snowmobile. I don't do any of that shit. So it's 4 months out of the year where we just lock ourselves in.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's like you're living in a fucking Charlie Chaplin movie, right? It's all black and white and dreary and shitty. And I can't even, I don't want to. Yeah, I'm with you.
Why do we do it? Jared, why do we do it?
I don't know. Well, because kids and they don't want to move. That's my situation.
Yeah,
they don't want to leave. Oh, but my friends, get new ones. You know where lots of friends go? The beach.
The beach, right? You can make a lot of friends. You can make a lot of friends.
Lots of friends. But here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. I mean, I'm here in Ann Arbor. Jared, you're, what do you even want to expose your city? Lansing? That's right. Okay. All right. I think
here come fans. Here come the entourage.
But Seth is down there in Florida. He says it's 79 degrees. I know, Seth. We're constantly looking at the weather down there and evaluating our choices. Cheese It Man from the YouTube page says, do y'all like college football? I don't know. It's all right. I mean, we spend a lot of time thinking about it and talking about it.
I don't have other shit I guess.
I would say we like it a little bit. Matt Kirby, of course, he's from Los Angeles. He's always out there where it's sunny and enjoyable. Although I don't know, Matt, are you directly in LA? Because I've heard mixed things about LA, but
if he's living on Skid Row, dude, like that's not good.
Are you like in the shanties out there and like the tent city out there? Are you living that way?
We need help.
Dude, I don't know, man. I can't, like, I'm at that point again where I just can't do it for much longer. The cold in the winter,
I'm with you, bro.
It's not doing it for me. It feels great being bald. You don't have the insulation on top. Yeah, that's a good point there. Beggars can't be choosers. Looking for a roster update. Jester's Jinx from the YouTube page.
Actual question, a legit question. Thank you, Jesters.
I will put out a new roster update. I know I've been doing that periodically as the all the transactions are taking place, and you've got guys that are going into the portal. You've got guys that Michigan is landing out of the portal. And then obviously, I mean, hell, still adding to their 2026 recruiting class. They just did it with a field goal kicker, which, talk about recruiters on staff on Whittingham's new staff. Kerry Coombs, former Ohio State guy, has been killing it on the recruiting trail with special teams guys. I mean, we've got like 7 long snappers at this point. We've got 12 punters. Now we got a few field goal kickers. And so it seems like, they certainly learned their lesson from last year and how critical special team success is. And so they seem to be doing a good job there. But yes, Jesters, I will absolutely put out a fully updated roster breakdown and kind of how things are shaking out at this point. Not a lot has changed since the last one I put out, but we did have some things changed. We got an announcement that a pretty big, I think, component to the Michigan offense is coming back. And so Jared and I, we'll get into that shortly. I guess where I want to start with this is, it feels like forever ago at this point, but talk about a little bit the national championship, what your thoughts were. Indiana, Miami, 2 teams, pretty improbable. I don't know that there's many people that had Indiana and Miami playing for it all at the end of the year. I certainly know that I did not have Indiana legitimately playing for a national championship, but not only did they play for one, but here we sit with the Indiana Hoosiers as national champions of college football. It's still, Jared, real strange for me to get used to that. I guess we probably should be by now because there's some consistency there with Curt Cignetti. And he's clearly everything he built himself up into in that first press conference where he said, "Google me, I win." Yeah. He lived up to it. I thought it was a joke initially, and he has certainly lived up to it. So I don't know. Thoughts on the national championship, the way it played out? Do you think it's overall like a good thing for college football that a team like Indiana just won it all, or does it leave you feeling a little bit differently? Because there are some critics out there.
No, I mean, I like it, man. I think it's cool that Indiana won it, right? I think the reality is the genie's out of the box, all that nonsense. You can say like NIL is not going back in the box. The transfer portal might change a little bit, but it's still going to be there. And Indiana understood the assignment, right? They went out and they're like, all right, we got to get guys that have talent and experience to come to our school. We don't worry about recruiting. We'll get them for 1, maybe 2 years, plug and play. We spend some money. We win a natty. We get all that money back and then some through RevShare, which we then tell the next list of guys, hey, look at all this money we got on RevShare, which we now have to share with you anyways legally. And you just rinse and repeat. Like if you do well every year and you bring in that money, I mean, it's rinse and repeat. Like, and they did it, right? They're predicted to be number 4 in the country.
Let's see here. You're talking about
for next year, too early 2026. And you look at the transfer portal, they went and got what they needed. You know what I mean? Plug and play guys. And then, but it's funny because I'm looking at all these pictures of Michigan and everything. One team I don't see at all in the background, Indiana. Like they came out of nowhere. It's incredible. It's an incredible story.
Consistently one of the worst teams in the Big Ten Conference. Joel Klatt
watched the Disney movie, man.
Yeah, Joel Klatt's way too early, top 10 for 2026. He's got Indiana at number 3. He's got Oregon at number 1. Yeah. Oregon at number 1, Georgia number 2, Indiana number 3, Ohio State number 4, Notre Dame 5, Texas 6, Miami 7, LSU 8, Michigan, the Wolverines at number 9, and Joel Klatt's way too early, top 10, and then Texas Tech at number 10. So I guess, a couple of questions there. You look at Klatt's way too early, top 10, and you see Oregon, Indiana, Ohio State, and it's like check. Those are all teams on Michigan's schedule, and 2 of those are going to be on the road at Ohio State, at Oregon, and then I believe home against Indiana. Yeah, Indiana being viewed once again as a team that's going to make another run. And I think, you got Mark Cuban money flowing into the program now. You've got people that believe in what Cignetti is doing. There was some pushback on the fact that I think, and I don't know because I didn't dive into this, but there was some pushback on the fact that the average age on Indiana's roster was like 23 or 24 years old. And I think that doesn't sit right with some people. And you look at Cignetti, brought a lot of guys from JMU into the program. And Cignetti even said it, right? That individually, these aren't guys that are going to be, high draft picks, but collectively as a unit, they played better than any other team in the country, went a perfect 16-0 and proved what they were capable of on the field. I guess, does that bother you at all? The fact that you had these guys who stuck around for longer than people probably normally would have because they could capitalize on NIL, and now you've got these 24-year-olds out competing with other college guys and winning it all?
Not at all. I really don't. I think some of this is still the hangover from the COVID year, right? That weird extra year because COVID was 2020, right?
Yeah, I think
within 6 years.
I think some of it is due to COVID, but dude, I don't even there's so much of this. I don't even understand the rules anymore. You have people.
JUCO doesn't count anymore.
JUCO doesn't count. You have people that file some sort of complaint or whatever with the NCAA, and they're asking for additional time and additional years and red shirts and medical red shirts and all of this shit. So I don't know, man. I mean, you had Jack Tuttle, who was trying to come back before he ended up retiring, but he was going for like his 7th year of college football. Yeah. And so, I think the rules a little bit, at least for me, are confusing in terms of what you can or can't do. But again, there were some people that looked at what Indiana did and how dominant they were and said, yeah, but they had a group of 24-year-olds that were competing against, legitimate college kids. And so,
I mean, what was the average age of Miami? Carson Beck's old as shit. That dude's
he wasn't even taking classes.
Yeah, he was living on the beach.
Living on a beach in Miami. That's what I should do.
Your dream. He's living your dream.
He is living my dream at half my age. Damn it. Unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know. I thought, look, the only negative thing about the college football playoff or the national championship and Indiana winning it, I thought it was a great story. Obviously we root for Michigan. We follow Michigan. We want to see Michigan succeed. But watching Indiana do what that team did and the way that they did it and how quickly the turnaround happened, I thought it was just a great story for college football. It was great to see it play out. And I talked to you about this, Jared, before the game actually happened. I was really happy that we didn't see what would happen to Michael Irvin if Miami actually won a national championship. Would have feared for his safety and the safety for those around him. But the other problem here is, I guess we can kind of transition into this, and I shared it on the Facebook page on social media earlier today. But Josh Pate, who's a growing college football analyst that people are getting to know, he kind of highlighted, I think, a problem that a lot of us have with the college football postseason is that it just drags out too long. And I'm looking at the date right now, Jared. It's January 22nd. The next college football national championship isn't even scheduled to take place until 3 days from now. So January 25th is when the next college football national championship is scheduled for in Las Vegas. So we're talking about the very end of January. And I think there's a lot of people who think the college football postseason, for as much as we love football, it just drags out and there's too much time in between some of these big games. And so Josh Pate, again, a college football analyst who is, becoming pretty well known within the community, came out with his idea of what he thinks could be successful, Jared. And I got to be honest, I signed on for it. I don't have any problem with it. And I'm curious how you feel about it. And this is kind of where we started the debate before we clicked on the live. So number one, he starts with, you move the entire college football season up from week 1 to week 0. So everything starts week 0. So you've got the entire season starting a week ahead of time, right? Which I don't have a problem with.
Nope, no problems there.
Let me go through the other part of this. I just want to make sure that I'm not missing it at all, because there's key elements to this. So you move the entire thing up 1 week. You also have bowl games. So bowl games are largely starting to feel meaningless, right? You've got teams that are opting out. Notre Dame decided they didn't even want to go play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. And so in order to make bowl games meaningful again, he wants to move the bowl games before the actual playoffs start so that there's playoff implications in the bowl game, which I actually think is a pretty good idea. He wants more on-campus games. And so instead of 1 week of on-campus games, you're going to have 2 weeks of on-campus college football playoff games. And then under his format, the postseason wraps up by January 1st. So you don't have multiple weeks in between games in the college football playoff. You've got 1 week between, round 1, round 2, then you take a week off, then you play the championship game. Heading into January, you've crowned a national champion by January 1st. So as we were talking about that, I was curious to get your thoughts on how do you feel about that? Potentially moving bowl games ahead of the college football playoff so that bowl games actually have playoff implications. You didn't really seem to like it too much.
No, because I still don't understand it. So Michigan goes through and plays their regular season. I think he was still advocating for conference championships, yeah? Or no?
Yes, under his format, there would still be conference championships. Okay. The conference championships would take place the final weekend in November, which is usually when rivalry weekend takes place. But under this new format, rivalry weekend would be moved up 1 week because the season starts week 0. Yep. So instead of Michigan playing Ohio State the final weekend in November, they'd play them a week earlier. Conference championships would take place in November.
So Michigan doesn't make it in the college the college football playoffs is predicted at the end, right? End of all of these bowl games. Okay. Yep. But like we talked about, these rankings come out. Like they still pre-rank. Like here's who we see the college football playoff as right now. And so Michigan is done with their season, technically, but there's bowl games. They get an invite to that bowl game. Is that what happens? Every year they make the invite just like normal. So they get invited and they're going to the Citrus Bowl. Who are they playing? They're playing a team. If they're playing a team that's sitting, and I believe he has the playoff down to 8 teams, right?
He's got the playoff. I don't know. I don't know if he moved it down to 8 teams, to be honest.
I think he did. I think he moved it down to 8.
You think so?
Okay. So say it stays at 12. So some team that's in that top 12, why would they ever play Michigan in a bowl game? They have nothing to gain. The rankings already came out and said, here's the 12 going into the bowl games, because they do those pre-rankings, right? The prediction rankings.
Right. But here's why they would do it, Jared. And I think this is a big difference between having bowl games after and outside of the college football playoff and having it before and having it carry playoff implications, is that we've gotten way too comfortable with teams just deciding, like, you know what, it's not worth us playing in it. We're just not going to play in it. We're not going to participate in it. Look at what Notre Dame did with the Pop-Tarts Bowl. They just decided that they were above it, didn't want to.
Bowls are dead. I hate the bowls. Yeah.
They're dead. But if you move bowl games ahead of the college football playoff and a committee selects certain teams, you don't have the right to sit back and say, well, you know what?
You're not saying move it ahead of the college football playoff. You're saying move it ahead of the selection.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be ahead of the college. Yeah, but that would be ahead of the college. Well, but some of the bowl games are taking place after the college football playoff is taking place, correct?
Oh, yeah, like some of the games. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Right. So what you would have is there, if you, let's say you're Ole Miss and you're ranked number 6 and you've got to go play Michigan at number 18 in the Citrus Bowl.
Why do you have to?
You have to because the committee put you there. You've been selected to play there. You can't just opt out. You can't sit out of it. And so
out of the 12, which ones don't go? So like the top 6 don't have to play an any bowl game?
Well, you've got the teams that are playing for the conference championships, right? So you would have had Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Texas Tech, BYU, and Miami, Virginia would not have been playing in those bowl games because they're playing for conference championships.
So you're punishing the teams that don't have a conference championship.
Correct. You're essentially giving, under Pate's thing, you're giving it another data point to select the college football playoff field. And it gives teams the opportunity to potentially play themselves in. And sure, you could play yourself out if you lose bad enough, but I just like the idea of bringing some value back to the bowl games where, yeah, you do see teams go out and compete, and it's for an opportunity to potentially play yourself into the college football playoff. And that brings some meaning to these games that, I mean, how much different would it have been if Michigan, Texas was taking place before the college football playoff selection with 2 teams, quite honestly, that if you come out and win that game and you have a dominant performance.
That I get. I get 2 teams that are trying to get in. But if one team knows hey, there's 12 teams getting in and we're sitting between 6 and 8, like we're good, we got 1 loss, we're 10-1, like why would we go play a 9-2 Michigan team?
Because you're not playing for a championship.
What's that?
So because you're not playing for
they're going to force them.
Yeah, I mean, you can not show up. You can pull a Notre Dame, but the committee's probably going to look at that as a forfeit and a team that's not ready to compete. And those teams, by the way, that qualify for their conference championship game, we've talked about this. Conference championships, like, are they meaningful? Are they not? Like, is it almost worth not getting an invite to the conference championship because it could damage your opportunity to get into the playoff if you happen to lose that game? Well, under this scenario, if you make it to your conference championship, you don't feel like somehow or another you're getting punished because all these teams that are sitting behind you, they also have to go and compete and earn their place in the college football playoff as well. And so all I think it does is it takes all of like the meaningless stuff out of like the bowl games that don't typically carry any weight anymore. And it brings value back into a postseason that seems to be losing a lot of value along the way. And I think you and I have argued about this so often that I feel like we're just losing things that matter so much in college football. I like anything that's going to bring value back to things that are starting to feel meaningless.
I don't know. I think that these bowl games, the reason they exist and is purely dollars, purely advertising, purely the fact that like Michigan and Texas, that bowl game was for nothing. But every Michigan and Texas fan watched it, right? These other fan bases of these other schools, they're watching these other bowl games too. So it's driving marketing dollars, it's driving revenue, and the NCAA and the conferences, they don't give a shit. Maybe Pate's plan is a good idea. I still can't wrap my head around why an eighth ranked team that's not in a conference championship would play an 18th ranked team. I don't get it. There's no reward there. So I don't understand that. But the bottom line is the bowl games are never going to go away because they do have value. They add value to the school. The schools get money off these bowl games too, and they have to rev share now, right? So they got to make up that rev share. So those bowl games are never going to die, and advertisers are going to. And I'll tell you what I'm going to do as a college football fan? I'm going to watch them anyways, right? I watched like 90% of them. Was I always paying attention? No, but it was on. It was probably on in 2-3 TVs in my house as I walked around and did whatever. I still watch. You know what I mean? Like I get what he's trying to do to make the bowl games relevant, but in the eyes of marketing and teams and revenue, they're not irrelevant anyways. They help these programs. Michigan you got to give such a chunk, right? They were talking about advertising in the big house. Never going to happen, but you know what I mean? Like, I
don't know. I mean, I think that day is going to come. I think you are.
You know how much that's worth. What do you think that's worth?
See, that's the thing.
10 years. What do you think that's worth?
I've got no frame of reference. I mean, putting, like didn't they put John Deere on the field for Iowa? Isn't John Deere on Iowa's field or
not
something?
Not even close, right? Not even near as big of a brand. What's a big brand college team that plays in a named stadium?
I don't know.
There's got to be, right? There's got to be
one. There is one. I'm not sure what it is, but it's coming.
I bet it is Alabama.
Nah, I don't think so. I could see Florida, maybe. I'm not exactly sure, but how the hell did we get off on that? Where the hell did that come from? Scott Ryan
bowl games.
Scott Ryan says, don't care what format is for the. See, this is why we should have had the argument before we clicked live, because we were just stumbling our way through that argument here.
Perfect though.
I am totally on board with, again, watching that Texas-Michigan game and knowing that there were playoff implications on the line, to me, would have brought so much more value into a game that, I wanted to see Michigan win it. But at the end of the day, like, to me, they were playing with house money. It didn't really matter if they won or lost. Like, it was just, I wanted to see them win, but that's pretty much where it ended. And so I love the idea of taking a collection of bowl games, putting teams in, and you say, well, if you're Ole Miss and you're ranked number 6, why would you want to play in that game? Because you've been selected to play in that game. That's how college football works now. And so you don't have the option to opt out. And I think that there's too much of that going on in college football now, where you can just opt out, you can sit out, you can sit back and reevaluate, or you can just hang it up and get ready for next year. Like, compete, right? You're selected to play in a game. This is a game that's going to be a college football playoff data point. Go and compete. Is there risk to it? Sure, but it's also sports. That's what it's all about. And so the idea that these teams can just sit back and say, well, it's far too risky. I mean, we're doing that with conference championships. Like, we're at a point right now where it almost feels too risky to make your conference championship game because there's a chance making that game could keep you out of the playoff.
So what if you took the top 12, the season ended, you got rid of conference championships, get rid of them, and the top 12 have to play in these bowl games and tell them, hey, you have to play against somebody in the top 12 to reshuffle, you know what I mean, that the final college football playoff. Yeah, they're all in, but the guarantee is like, no, you won't drop out of that 12. So if you're playing a game that's meaningful, because it dictates where you go in the college football playoff, but you won't lose and drop out.
then you're just going to sit. I mean, you're just going to sit guys. If it's not going to have any sort of impact, like I don't want my star like you're that though. That is a meaningless
seating impact because then you get home field advantage.
Seating impact, sure, but you're also like, I don't know. I
would never ever go into a game where I know that I'm pretty much a lock for the college football playoff and play a team that's trying to get in. You know what I mean? I think I'm already in. I ain't playing.
You would if you didn't have a choice.
And who's going to make that choice? The NCAA, the toothless.
Well, see, that's a whole other can of worms. Like, who's really running this thing? Who's really in charge of making these decisions? And at the end of the day, Jared, like, I think what Pate put out was fun and interesting because I think that all of us are looking at the postseason and thinking that there is some improvement that needs to be made, particularly when the championship game is now being extended all the way out to January 25th. It just drags on too long. And even when I watched Indiana, Miami, like I was excited to watch it, but not nearly as excited as I would have been had that game taken place 2 weeks earlier. And so I think everybody's looking at it and they want to see it improve. And then on the backdrop of that, you've also got Big Ten Commissioner Tony Petitti having conversations where they are strongly in the Big Ten pushing for a 2014 playoff. And let's be honest, like a guy like Josh Pate or somebody else and, Joel Klatt, they can put out their brilliant ideas for how they think the postseason should go. But Jared, I think you alluded to this and touched on it when we first started this conversation. This is driven by TV revenue. This is driven by dollars. This is driven by people in conference rooms wearing suits who have very little connection to the actual sport itself. And we know for sure that we are headed toward a 24-team college football playoff format where the national championship game is probably going to take place sometime in February in the very near future. That's just where we are at. I mean, look at it. This upcoming one is January 25th. We're only talking about another week before you get to February at that point. And it's a shame, man. It's a shame because I do think there are a lot of good ideas out there that have, what the fans want in mind. I think that that's important, man. Like so much of this is about like, I feel like, and I've heard it here in the comments that like, it doesn't matter what fans want. It's not so much about fans want, but go back to that 2020 season when there were no fans in the stands. There were cardboard cutouts of people in there. Everything was quiet. Vendors were losing millions of dollars across the country. Like, I do think it matters what fans want. And I know for sure that fans want more playoff games on campus and they want a national championship game to happen way sooner than the end of January. There's some people out there that want to expand the playoff even further, but I think that they're in the far minority. I think most people are fine with 12. And to be honest, I think there's a lot of people who think even 12 is a little bit much.
Yeah. What's coming up on the 25th? You keep saying
that's when the next national championship is January 25th. So
27.
Yes. The next national championship game is January 25th. And so now we're already taking place. Right. We're already taking place a week later. So.
And your casual fans, like, unfortunately there are people who are just casual fans of college football, which I don't understand, but they don't know what the hell's going on. Like you said, this is so long. Like I saw people talking on Facebook about, they were like, oh, the national championship's on. Then I thought college football was over. They don't even know because they don't care. Yeah. Why are these guys still doing this?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's wild.
Yeah, it is.
Ryan,
I've
had your comment up here for quite some time. He says he doesn't care what the format is for the playoffs, but why have conferences if you don't have a conference championship game? Yeah, this is something that, I saw Danny Cannell said something about this. Like Danny Cannell was saying that he would rather get rid of the conference championship games altogether as opposed to moving rivalry weekend up one weekend and not having it on Thanksgiving weekend. And I'm just like, how did we get to a place in college football where we're looking at conference championship games and we're just like, screw it. It's not even worth it. Like, to me, if there are things that are still worth protecting in college football, because I know that there's a lot of change. I mean, Oregon and USC are Big Ten teams now, right? Like Alabama and the SEC doesn't run college football anymore. Indiana just won a national championship. You can have Mark Cuban pay players. Like, we are in a completely different era of college football. But if there's anything that's worth holding on to, I think one of those things has to be conference championship games. And just the fact that conference championships still mean something to where, Jared, guys like you and I aren't sitting here saying like, is it even worth playing for a conference championship anymore? Because I can tell you that in the current format and in this era, looking at a 12-team playoff, and we've talked about this before, I don't even really care as much if Michigan makes the conference championship game or plays for a Big Ten title. I just want them in the 12-team playoff. That's where I'm at. Like, the conference championship has gone from something that When I watched Michigan win 3 consecutive from 2021 to 23, it was amazing. At this point, like, I put very little value in a conference championship.
Yeah, well, and here's the other part too. Like, I don't understand why people are so protective of these conference championship games. I get it. The conference has grown, so that's kind of why. But
You're coming at me. I'm one of these people.
What, you don't care about college championship? You want them back?
Conference.
Yeah, but here's my thing. They've only been around since 2011. Michigan's been playing football for over 100 years. 80% of that time, 85% of that time, there wasn't conference championship. So this is not like we're getting rid of some storied tradition here.
Well, you won the conference. You just didn't play the game.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So it's a conference championship game. So if you got rid of it, it'd just go back to being, hey, you're the conference champion. They'd figure out some crazy algorithm for how to do it. I get what you're saying, but the bottom line is coaches are going to start looking at these things like, dude, this is not worth my time. This is not worth our seeding in the college football playoff. I mean, you see it, like, we were talking about Michigan. What if they got in with those 2 losses? Is it good or bad? You know what I mean? They go in there and they get whipped by Indiana. That ain't good. So I'm with you. I liked them. I thought it was awesome when Michigan won. It was, you took some iconic photos down there with JJ coming out with the fire and all that, and the just this atmosphere. You know what I mean? And now I feel like you said, I'm not really concerned. I just don't, if Michigan gets in next year, you just don't want them to lose, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, especially if you get in as a 2-loss team. I mean, you look at what Alabama got the benefit of the doubt.
Yep.
And then Alabama ended up, they went to Oklahoma and took care of business, but then they played a real team in Indiana and got the shit kicked out of them, lost by like 5 touchdowns. It's just, I don't know, man.
Well, the only thing they could do is make a rule like college football playoff says, listen, if you make it to your conference championship game, like, we're not going to put a team in over you that didn't.
Yeah.
They'd have to do
I think that's fair. If you qualify and you play for the conference.
What if you go get whipped?
Well,
like 59-0. You're like, oh,
that should be that,
on that one.
I do think you shouldn't penalize teams for making the conference championship. And that's been a big talking point in college football for a long time. And so, yeah, I think if you make your conference championship, you're in. But then again, Virginia would have been in the college football playoff, right? So would have been Virginia and Duke, right? Wasn't that the ACC championship? Yeah, so exactly. You would have Virginia and Duke.
Miami, ACC. Miami would have got bumped.
Miami would have been
they were 10 seed, right? They would have been bumped.
Presumably out. Yeah.
So my idea is absolute shit. Don't.
What a wild time.
Screwed everything.
We got to have these conversations before we go live. We got to work all this out before we bring it to the people and just ramble on.
Oh, they just want to hear us ramble about nonsense. People are just laughing.
Good Lord. Yes, let me see if I missed that. We're 32 minutes into the show and we have not talked Michigan football at all. Maybe we should make that transition here. Let me go through a couple of comments here.
I think a good question that was asked, and you can find it, but it was I can't remember what it was, but what are the thoughts about Tatum moving to safety?
Yeah, we're going to get to that here.
About that one. That's a good one.
We'll get to that very shortly here. Let me just get this one from Dwayne Jones from the Facebook page. He says, so you want fans to have to pay to travel to neutral bowl sites every week? No, I mean, you don't have to.
Yes. Get a better job.
What the hell? Even now?
I'm not saying Dwayne. I'm saying if you get a better job.
Dude, even with a better job, I mean, you're not going to be able to go, there's few people like, there's
either Dwayne, so we ain't going together.
Matt Kirby is one of those guys, right? He lives out in LA.
Be there. That dude's everywhere.
Michigan game.
Dwayne,
but,
Matt.
I think that's a little bit unrealistic. Yeah, I think people got families and jobs, and it's hard to really do that. But Dwayne, I don't have any question whether or not people would actually fill the stadiums to go and watch, multiple bowl games. So, yeah, I mean, do I want fans to do it? No, but would fans do it? Absolutely. They would find a way, and those stadiums would be full. I don't think there's any question about it.
I didn't really mean get a better job, folks. I was just joking. I can't afford to go either. What was the parking at the national championship? Parking was like $1,000 or $500. We talked about it. I can't afford to go to any of these games either. So whatever. Parking
in Miami for the national championship was like to prepay. You had to pay like $1,000 or something like that. And then like the average ticket price to get in, the average ticket price was over $4,000. So, I mean, that's another part of this is I just feel like
to go to these.
Thank God I was credentialed during Michigan's championship run because I wouldn't have been able to afford, a trip out. And this is kind of in line with what Dwayne Jones is talking about is I wouldn't have been able to afford tickets to get into Pasadena and the Rose Bowl and then travel out to Houston and watch Michigan play in the national championship. Like that would not have been affordable for me had I not been a credentialed member of the media. And so, there's no question that it's a massive, massive expenditure, but let's also be real. Michigan has a pretty big fan base, alumni base, and a lot of them are pretty wealthy and they can.
But other teams, right? Dwayne's just talking about in general. I think
you're a poverty team, like let's say you're a Michigan State or something like that, and it's like, you're probably not going to be able to afford it.
Sorry, poverty team.
Well, here's Matt Kirby's. You can't put a price on experience. Actually, Matt, you
can go homeless. So, whatever.
Absolutely go homeless. All right. I didn't see too many questions in there. I think people were just waiting for us to get done rambling on about that. Yeah, let's talk about Taylor Tatum's position change, running back transfer from Oklahoma. Look, when he committed and his transfer was announced, I mean, he was the top running back recruit in the 2024 class, was it? Yeah. Am I getting that correct? He was on Michigan's radar during that recruitment. Obviously, he ended up going out to Oklahoma. I think he had some injury issues while he was out there. He didn't really have much production.
Correct.
And then lo and behold, he ends up in the transfer portal. He ends up at Michigan. And the thought is, whoa, like at this point, you didn't know if Justice Haynes was coming back. You knew Jordan Marshall was coming back. And you're looking at this running back room thinking it's absolutely going to be stacked. Well, now we know Justice Haynes is off to Georgia Tech and he's getting paid, very nicely to be able to do that. And kudos to him. Yep. He gets to go back home to the state of Georgia and play for Georgia Tech. But the belief was that Taylor Tatum was going to be part of the running back rotation. And then 2 days ago, yesterday, we get a report from Tony Garcia of the Detroit Free Press saying that Taylor Tatum is not on offense. He's not in the running back room. In fact, he is going to start his Michigan career as part of the safeties room. I was surprised, did not see that coming. Full disclosure, I don't know if this kid was a two-way player in high school. I just know he was a highly rated running back recruit. Jared, I mean, I guess what were your thoughts? Were you surprised by that? How do you feel about Taylor Tatum making the transition from running back to potentially being a safety?
I mean, I was surprised, and there's historicals, right? We had Mikey Senior still switching sides. We had Khalil Mullings, right? Yep. But these guys weren't 5-star number one at that position that you're asking them to switch from. This kid was 5-star number one in the nation running back. And he had 1 year freshman at Oklahoma. Like you said, he got dinged up a little bit, didn't play a lot, which has nothing to do with his talent. And now he's here and you make him a safe. But I also am not a coach. I've not run a program. I'm not a Hall of Fame coach like the Coach Witt, But I mean, it could work. That running back room's crowded. Jordan Marshall's running back 1. They must really like what they see in Savion Hyder already, if they're trying to move Tatum. But 1, 2, and now you got Cusdall 3. Like we're good in the running back room,
which is huge.
And in college football, though, what do you want in the end? I think Dion talked about it. You want your best athletes on the field, regardless, right? So if that running back room's crowded and you just got a talented kid sitting there that can just play football in general, boom, go put him at safety, right? Go put him on, and he's going to hit people. And I mean,
Seth is asking on the field. Do you see him as a hybrid safety / linebacker? Like they turned, they like to turn linebackers into running backs at one point in time. Yeah, I mean, you saw that with Hassan Haskins became quite the running back for Michigan. Started his career as a linebacker. Same with Khalil Mullings, who carried the team in 2024. Michigan does have a track record and a history of doing things like this, and I think that if they're thinking about Taylor in this light, I mean, they got him listed at 5'10", 212 pounds. He was the number 1 running back in the country in the 2024 class. Yeah, maybe there's something there. Clearly, they see something in him to where they think he can fit in defensively, and I know that Michigan, to a certain extent, needs some help in the secondary. They lost. If there was one position group that took the biggest hit during the portal session, it was Michigan's secondary. I mean, they lost a ton of guys out of the secondary, some veterans who played a lot of football. Yeah. And so I think this one is going to be interesting because I don't know. Is it a hybrid safety / linebacker? What they plan on doing with him? Is there a chance that we could see him potentially work both sides of the football, or maybe just transition back to the offensive side? I suppose it's possible, but also a big part of this is, and Jared, you had mentioned it, the return of Bryson Cusdall out of the transfer portal, sticking with Michigan. And this was something that kind of, for me, came out of left field in that I didn't think he was going to enter the portal necessarily. And again, I thought a lot of that was going to be due to whatever Justice Haynes was going to decide to do, because if Justice Haynes stays in Ann Arbor, now all of a sudden there's probably not, you got Savion Hyder there, you got Jordan Marshall. There's probably not a lot of room for a guy like Bryson Cusdall. But with Haynes gone, I think Bryson Cusdall is going to be, and I know he doesn't get a lot of shine, particularly on a national level. I think locally, people in Ann Arbor, Michigan fans, they have come to appreciate what he brings to the table. But I think Bryson Cusdall can be a more than serviceable running back in this Michigan offense in 2026, given what we saw from him when Justice Haynes went down with injury and when Jordan Marshall was struggling with injury. I didn't know much about him until I saw him on the field and was really surprised at his quickness, his physicality, how hard he runs, how quickly he gets to the hole. Like, there are so many aspects of his game that I came to appreciate, that I think he is. It's not just, to me, Bryson Cusdall is not just a throw-in guy in this offense. I think he will be a critical part of Michigan's running game in 2026. And maybe that plays into why Taylor Tatum ultimately is making this transition over to the defensive side of the ball. I guess, Jared, maybe that's a two-part question. How much of this transition for Tatum do you think has to do with the fact that Bryson Cusdall is back? And what kind of impact do you think having Bryson Cusdall back is going to have on the running back room overall?
So, I mean, I think to go back to the Tatum piece, like I said, I think putting him there is just that he's a talented guy. The other part too, and if you're in Tatum's camp, your parents, whatever, moving a guy to safety is not horrible in college football and football in general, right? Running backs, the shelf life is pretty short. Getting in the NFL, you get a few good years. The contracts aren't the same. I mean, they did him a favor. If he can switch over and use his athletic ability to become an elite safety in college football, what he's going to make in the NFL and the amount of time he's going to be able to stay in the NFL as a safety doubled, right? So not a bad future move for the kid. And maybe that was the thing. Maybe they talked to him and said, hey, listen, bud, like, you already went out and tried to play college football here as a running back and you got banged up quick. Like, are we going to keep doing this? Do we want to keep doing this? And that's another reason maybe they let Justice Haynes go, right? Yeah. He got banged up every damn time he played. You want to let him? We let him go. Marshall and Cusdall are more reliable. And I think you see Cusdall might be our running back too. You know, Hyder,
I think so.
Yeah, Hyder making that jump to be over Cusdall, I don't think so. He's just not college football ready, right? Those freshmen, it's tough. Adrian Peterson did it, you know, some big time guys, but and they don't need to bang him up, right? He's going to be there 3 years. Why bang up Hyder? You know, play him in a couple positions, get him some reps when you can. But no, I think Cusdall, I'm excited, man. I think he's a good kid. He's a humble kid. Sounded like he wanted to stay at Michigan anyways, right? He never wanted to leave, but he kind of thought Haynes is coming back. You know, all these things. You got Tatum. But yeah, obviously there's something, because there's no tape on Tatum that Michigan, you know, Michigan hasn't ran him out there and said, you know, we threw him on defense and he looked great. You know, they're in winter workouts. They're not doing anything. So yeah, they sold him a future. And obviously I saw somebody say they tricked him, probably an Ohio State fan. They probably tricked him and he signed. And then what? Hell no.
Everything's conspiracy. Everything is a conspiracy these days. Becky.
Exactly. But I like Cusdall. I'm with you, brother.
Is it Jetski? Is that how you say that? I hope I got that right. Becky Kitchen Jetski. That's a pretty badass name there. She says, didn't Sanders still go from offense to defense? Look at him. Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, he and Jared, this is in line with what you were saying. Like, if you make the right transition in college football, it can be a world of difference in terms of the way your career turns out. If Mikey Sanders still had stayed on the offensive side of the ball and continued to play wide receiver, I thought he was capable of making big time plays. We saw him make plays as a wide receiver during his time at Michigan, but when he made that transition to defense, that set him on a path to becoming what he now is in the NFL, which is like a legitimate NFL safety. And so, you know, you look at a guy like Taylor Tatum, can he make the same transition? Anything is possible, but I think it's intriguing. And I do wonder how much the return of Bryson Cusdall played a role in that, because I do think that there are even some in the Michigan fan base who don't look at him as necessarily a valuable asset, just kind of like a throw-in guy. Yeah. And I don't see him that way, man. I think he showed a lot last year. And I think that another year of development, another year in this offense, and now he's working with a legitimate coaching staff around him. I've said this before, man. I think there's going to be a level of maturity and discipline with this team that we have not seen over the last 2 years. And based on what we saw from Kuzdal last year, I really like what his potential is in the Michigan offense, and I'm intrigued to see what Taylor Tatum can do defensively. We have Braden O'Kane, 883.
Bradenton. He's in Bradenton, Florida, I'm sure.
Bradenton? Oh, okay. Bradenton Kane. Oh, okay. I see. Bradenton Kane, 8830 from the YouTube page. Great looking bald guy there in the profile picture. He says, man, come on. Michigan is back to being mid. Yeah, I don't know what that's based on. I mean,
first of all, at that age, my friend, you probably shouldn't be using words like mid. You know what I'm saying? Like my kids just cringed upstairs.
You can't judge a book by its cover. Just because the man's bald doesn't mean he's old.
I could see that he was old. Are you blind?
I am. I don't really have.
Fair enough. Yeah, I win then. Moving along. Another thing, I think some of the fans have been talking about it too. I think Tatum moving from running back to safety in college is feasible, right? Because at that point, your athleticism, and obviously he has it, is enough to get over the technical shortfalls you have, right? If he's trying to switch running back to safety in the NFL, probably not going to happen because you got to be technically sound at everything. I think his ability to be athletic. And you got Rod Moore, right? So you got a great leader in that safety room too. Say, here, young fellow, this is how you play safety. Rod Moore's been in college for like 25 years. He knows everything.
Yep.
So not a bad room.
Not a bad room at all. I mean, there's a lot of depth that's there. Obviously, in the running back room, I think Michigan is going to be good. And again, I've said this before. If there's one thing we learned this past season, it's how critical depth is to the room, because you go into the year and you're like, we've got Justice Haynes, we've got Jordan Marshall, we've got this, we've got that. And it's like, well, when those guys go down and it gets real thin, like, thank God you've got a guy like Bryson Kuzdal who can go in and move the chains and run hard for you. And, so going into 2026 for sure, I mean, they've got some depth in the running back room. And I agree that I don't think that there's any real need to throw Savion Hyder into the fire. Obviously, he's a 5-star running back, top running back prospect in the country. But, the idea that you're going to lean on a true freshman running back to have a pretty big role in your offense as a true freshman, I think we got a little bit of a reminder. I get it's a different position, but we got a little bit of a reminder of that with Bryce Underwood during his true freshman year, that for as good as these guys are, you see these highlight reels where they're manhandling other people like children at the high school level. Bro, you get into the college level and it's like, these are all grown ass men that you're playing with. And hell, if you play Indiana, you're playing like 32-year-olds that are out there. These are men with families. These are men, some of them with grandchildren.
These guys know how to do their taxes. Like, what? This is crazy. They're living. Yeah, Carson Beck aged out of college. Like he had no classes left to take. So he just sat at the crib on the beach. Like, what?
Pre-game conversations about your 401ks, things like that, retirement pension, all of that stuff. Like, so yeah, I mean, it's a different ball game for sure. But I think Jordan Marshall and Bryson Kuzdal, I think that's going to be a pretty serviceable 1-2 punch for the Michigan offense. I'm excited to see what that looks like, and then I think you use them like you used, Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum during their freshman year, where you sprinkle it in a little bit here and there. But I think Jordan Marshall and Bryson Kuzdal can be. I think it can be the best running back duel in the Big Ten Conference, and I think that's enough to get you to where you want to be.
And punishing too. I mean, you're talking 2 punishing guys, and your defense is going to get beat up. You know what I mean? And they stay fresh. Yeah, I like this.
This is an important question. Chuck, I'm gonna.
Is it Bouvet?
I like that. Let's go Bouvet. Chuck Bouvet, and if that's not right, you can always correct us. Chuck Bouvet, he says, but can you afford to sit Hyder right now? If you don't play, you transfer. I do think that's a fair question. Jared, what do you think about, you don't need to necessarily play Savion Hyder, but the transfer portal is always there. You want to make sure you keep your 5-star running back healthy. How much of that do you factor into how much you're going to play him as a true freshman?
I mean, I think the kid is talented enough that it's not going to be letting him play. I think he's gonna get reps, right? He's gonna earn them, and there's gonna be situations where, like you said, like Donovan as a freshman, right? Like I think Savion is gonna be more of a threat, a 3-down back in terms of catching out of the backfield. I think he's gonna be a little bit better than Kuzdal and Marshall on that, so you might see that. I would love, he's got speed, and line him up in the slot every once in a while, right? You know what I mean? I think he's gonna see some reps, and I think he'll be okay. I think he gets it, right? Like, he looks at that room. He came to Michigan. He knew who was in this room at the time. Justice Haynes was allegedly coming back. Yeah. Like, he knew, and he was ready to compete. So, and he stayed, right?
He committed to a previous coaching staff. I get Tony Alford's still there, but There was a lot of transition that took place. He's got a real new, beautiful, brand new BMW that he's driving around.
Yeah, look real nice. Yeah.
Things aren't bad for the true freshman running back in Ann Arbor. A2 fan 71 from the YouTube page said nobody said lean on Hyder. Marshall will be the bell cow, but Hyder could easily be number 2. I mean, he could be number 2. I think easily.
By the end of the year,
maybe, but again, I think this is more so. The overall point I'm making is I just think there are a lot of people that are overlooking Bryson Cusdahl. Maybe I'm putting too much stock into.
No, I'm with you. I think he's talented. I think kid's talented. Nobody's arguing you that.
Incredibly underrated.
But could Hyder catch him? Yeah,
sure.
The talent's there, right? The pure talent's there, and he's an early enrollee, right? So he's getting reps right now. He's got the playbook. He's learning, and he knows the depth chart, right? He knows it's Marshall, Cusdahl, and him. So he's
I wouldn't be surprised, A2 fan, if this is how it ended up, turning out during the 2026 season. But all I'm saying is that there seems to be a belief that Savion Hyder has to be RB2, that you need to get a certain level of play out of him in order for Michigan to be effective in the running backs room. And to that, I just say you're overlooking a guy who came in and played very valuable minutes for Michigan down the stretch, very valuable reps.
100-yard game.
Proved that he was a hard runner, proved that he was quick, proved that he could do the job. And now you give him another year, you're presumably going to throw more reps on his plate, and I think he's going to be a big factor in the offense. So this isn't so much about what I think Hyder's capable of. It's more so of I just think people are overlooking and undervaluing Bryson Cusdahl.
Which, by the way, now that you're fully on board with Bryson Cusdahl, his career is shot.
He's probably going to end up transferring to Michigan State.
Seriously, appreciate that.
Midway through the season.
Running back.
I just got to stop investing in people.
You got to start picking dudes that we want off the team, like one of our 18 kickers.
Eric May from Facebook says, wasn't Brandon Whedon like 27 or 28 at Oklahoma State? He was. He was an elder statesman. There's no question about it. And then who was it?
Florida State.
Florida State. Chris Winkie, right?
Yep.
He was like 30.
He won the Heisman, didn't he?
I don't know. Did he win the Heisman?
I think Winkie won the Heisman, beat a bunch of kids that, you know what I mean? He could be their dad.
Bouvet says it's close enough, so we're just going to go with Bouvet. I love it. Here we go. Will do sucker from the YouTube page. These names, man. These names. From the YouTube page asks, what do you all think about the comments from outgoing wide receiver Simpson that he made about Sharon Moore being blackmailed by Samaj? Oh, there's a lot to unpack there. I did have that on the list of things to briefly mention because I did think it was, I don't know. There's a lot of people that said, okay, you've got a disgruntled wide receiver who was never able really to establish himself on the depth chart. And so, now he's saying these things on his way out to try to justify the fact that he couldn't earn it on the field. But for those who weren't, I guess, aware of what he had to say, this is Anthony Simpson. And by the way, when I put it out, there were a lot of people that were like, who? I didn't even know he was on the roster. Anthony Simpson was a wide receiver. I believe he came from UMass, right?
Yep, Massachusetts.
He was buried on the depth chart, never really able to get on the field. He was a slot receiver. This is what he had to say on his Twitter account shortly after entering the transfer portal. He said, targets versus non-targets. I was the best slot receiver for Michigan, and I was treated unfairly due to Sharon Moore being blackmailed by players and staff members, which jeopardized my opportunity to get on the field. I was the fastest player on the team, and I won reps every day in practice. I was only there for fall camp. Our team captains also advocated for me to play, which I thought was an interesting note. I mean, he's saying this publicly. The team captains obviously have an opportunity to come back and say, this is bullshit. Yep. We never said that. So I thought that was a part of his statement that gave us some credibility. He said, I was denied fairness. If I kept my mouth shut and closed, no one would know that I was a part of a scandal that impacted the team and impacted my chance to add to my production in college. I tried to stay at Michigan, but the GM said there wasn't a roster spot for me. God has plans for us all, and I can't wait to see where this journey takes me. Thank you, Michigan. So, I don't know, Jared, what are your thoughts when you hear something like that?
I mean, it sounded very professional. He wasn't like, F you. He was like, God bless, thank you, right? You know what I mean? He didn't seem angry. He seemed very factual, and it kind of reminds you of when the Sharon Moore thing started spiraling, right? We were talking about people like, man, they're saying very specific things, you know what I mean? You can't walk that back. He called out the captain, said they thought the same thing, and so I'm with you. That's some credibility. And then it's not like he's going at a guy, potentially. He didn't name Samaj, but that's the position he was at, right? That's the position he would have taken. He didn't say it, but he's not going at a guy who you just be like, well, Samaj killed it. So that's maybe why he didn't make. Samaj was all year was struggling. We were like, why is he on special teams? Why is he out here for this? Why is he getting 4th down passes? You know what I mean? He's pointing out a guy that didn't do so well. And now you're like, well, how the hell did he stay on the field?
Well, not only a guy that didn't do so well and that was struggling for a good part of the season, but a lot of the dialogue surrounding Samaj, and again, not trying to bash the guy, but a lot of the dialogue surrounding him was, why do they keep putting him on the field? Like, it just didn't make sense, right? Because there were so many mistakes happening at critical times and it didn't make sense. And so I don't know. What do I think about it? I think it's interesting. I think it's maybe
where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Like,
right. I think perhaps gives you a small window of additional insight, maybe into what was going on. And again, the fact that he referenced the team captains and saying that the captains were advocating for him to get more playing time. I think that, once again, any team captain that read that or saw that, I have zero doubts that that post got back to them. If anybody wanted to set the record straight, they absolutely could have done it.
Samaj didn't deny it.
To my knowledge, nobody has. And so I guess what I would say is I think it just speaks to how dysfunctional everything was. And if there were guys that were advocating for other guys who were performing better to get playing time, and you couldn't do that because there was fear that somebody knew something, and so you had to do things a certain way. Once again, it just leaves me feeling like, how the hell did this team go 9-3 in the regular season?
Kind of impressive.
Accomplished. It might be the most impressive. Be the most impressive 9-3 regular season we've ever seen in Ann Arbor. Maybe in the history of college football.
Probably.
Let's see.
I did see like reports before that his that where Sharon's mistress lived, which I know where that is because it's by where my daughter works. But anyways, there were some football players that lived there too. It is a college apartment complex, right? Like in Ann Arbor, and so his SUV pulling up to her house all night, like come on, man, these kids know. You know what I mean? They know what's going on.
Kids aren't stupid. I mean, they're kind of stupid. They're not.
Homegirl, kids know.
They're not stupid when it comes to relationships, for sure. They know what's going down. A2 fan 71. Yes. And this is a big part of it, that we're talking about Savion Hyder coming in and being, potentially RB2. But when it comes to Bryson Cusdall, it's not like he's static. It's not like he's not going to improve after a year. And so, yeah, great speed. He has the opportunity to take a big leap and be great. And I just think that it's far more probable that it's a steady dose of Jordan Marshall and Bryson Cusdall. But, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Savion Hyder has established himself as the RB2 on the roster by season.
Yep. Yeah. Have a lot of football under his belt by then too. So.
Let's see this one here.
Somebody says free South Park Mexican. Who knows who that is?
What the Okay. Reggie Webb from the YouTube page, Reggie Webb 9230 says, How are you guys early picks for team captains with Max and Klein leaving for the NFL? Okay. So I guess, who are we thinking could be team captains? Thinking about it early.
Michigan has like a senior rule, right?
They do have a senior rule. And traditionally they do. I don't know if Kyle Whittingham is going to do things differently.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Why don't we do this? Are there a couple of guys, regardless of where they are at in their Michigan career, are there some guys that stand out to you? Because I know for sure there's a couple to me.
It's Bryce's team, right? Like he's the captain of the offense. It's a young offense, and he's the captain of that entire side of the ball. So I that seems solid to me. Zeke Berry's kind of senior on the defense. Rod Moore, obviously Rod Moore. The running backs are all young too. Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of the guys I think. I think Cusdall's a junior, right? I
believe so. But again, take gas off.
Okay, I know, but I still look at it like how long's he been there? You know what I mean? He didn't play a lot, but he's got that attitude, right? Cusdall, that's what Whittingham likes. That hard worker, came from nothing really. You know what I mean? He was a no-star guy out of Grand Rapids, Michigan, played his way into meaningful games at the U of M already. And that's the attitude that I feel like this team exudes, and blue collar, tough. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, I might. I don't know.
Get some linemen in there. Blake Frazier's a good one. New life.
I was going to say I might be out of pocket here. My pick would be Blake Frazier for sure, because I think he is. He was the first guy that was officially announced by the University of Michigan as a guy who is coming back, and then another guy that I think is probably playing a big role. Rod Moore, obviously in that group. but I would put Jordan Marshall in there as a junior running back. I think Jordan Marshall is probably, when you listen to him talk and the leadership that he has and the way that he speaks, I think he's got that. I go back to this all the time. Like I remember talking to that 2023 team, and you would talk to Zach Zinner and Mike Sainristil and Blake Corum and JJ McCarthy, and those guys just carried themselves a certain way where you didn't question whether or not they were leaders on the team. You just knew who the captains were. And I think Jordan Marshall's got a lot of those qualities in him. So I would throw him into that as well. So yeah, Blake Frazier, Jordan Marshall, Rod Moore, obviously. And then I don't know, man. I don't think there's another guy on the team that I'm pulling for as hard as I'm pulling for.
That'd be a good captain crew right there.
Yeah, no doubt. And is Michigan going to go 6 guys? Are they going to go 8 guys? I don't know. It's really interesting. I'm intrigued to see what Kyle Whittingham is going to do. I saw somebody the other day advocating for Kyle Whittingham to get rid of the award stickers that were brought back by Jim Harbaugh. I wonder, but those are little things that I wonder, do you continue that? Do you put your own little spin on it? You're not a guy coming from you're not a Michigan insider guy, right? You're coming from Utah. You spent 32 years of your career out in Utah. You're coming to Michigan. What traditions are you going to keep? What are you going to change? Are you going to put your own spin on things? I think that's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, he's got no.
But you like the helmet stickers? You like the helmet?
I like them. Yeah, I like them.
Which ones do you like more? Do you like the Wolverines, or do you like the ones where it tells a story of individual accomplishments?
I like the individual accomplishment ones. Yeah. Like they got the ones for the 1000th game and stuff like that. Because it's also cool because fans can get them. They do limited releases of them, so fans can get them too. So I think that's cool. Anything that the fans can get a piece of too, I think that's pretty cool to me.
This is the next question. I'm not picking it out just because I'm seeing these questions, so I'm going to answer them. Becky Kitchen Jetski, I'm glad I got that right. She says, "Did you see Sharon in court today, or was that yesterday?" No, Becky, that was today. Sharon Moore was in court today in Washtenaw County for a hearing. Nothing really came of it outside of the I guess after, I almost said post-game conference, but a post-game
days are over for him for a minute.
After the court hearing, Sharon came out with his lawyer. His wife was there by his side as well. But I think for the first time, it gave us an indication of because this whole time we didn't really hear from Sharon and how he felt about or thought about the dynamic of what took place. And even though we didn't hear from him specifically today, if you listen to what his lawyer had to say, they're basically saying hey, he was innocent. That the way this is being portrayed is not fair. And we're confident that, when we get into court and we have the opportunity to make our case, that's going to be obvious. And so I don't know, man, there's a whole lot of things that were going on there and maybe some dynamics that people aren't thinking of and that we're not fully aware of. But there seems to be at least some confidence on their side that, maybe everything isn't exactly what it seems on the surface. And would you be surprised at this point, Jared, if there was another weird twist in it that made you think oh my God, Sharon Moore, he wasn't as bad as we thought. He was screwed over somehow. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Stop it. There's no way, man. He's in the background of the tapes. He's in the background of the 911 tapes, man. You can't say I wasn't in that apartment. You're on the tape. Your wife called and said you were suicidal. This chick calls and says you're broke into her apartment and trying to cure herself with a spoon or whatever the hell he was trying to do. Come on, man. Just plead that shit. He's trying to plead it down is what he's doing. That's exactly what Matt Kirby said. He's saying I'm innocent because then they're going to go back and say, all right, can we get some of these serious charges dropped, or can we drop the whole thing and I pay a fine, or you know what I mean? You can't go in and say you're guilty and then negotiate from that. I did it, but I want to negotiate.
Yeah, I guess.
You know
that's
no. So
I'm so far from being a legal expert. Tony Petrosky's advocating for Bryce Underwood to be a captain. I think it's a year too soon. I think it's a year too soon for Bryce Underwood to be a captain. But then again, I don't know.
Yeah, add some more pressure to the kid. Why not? Yeah, that's cool.
Damn it. Throw 30 touchdowns. Then
Tom Brady had to be a senior, but hey, you're a sophomore.
That's what I'm saying. Make these kids earn it. Damn it. Yeah. Let me see here. Seth Scott from the YouTube page says, I think Micah Kapana was in front of Kuzdal at one point, but whatever injury he had kept him off the field. Kapana RB2. No, I just don't see that happening. I think I think Bryson Cusdahl doesn't come back. And if you listen to the reporting from the Detroit Free Press, Bryson Cusdahl did get multiple offers from Power 4 schools. And I don't doubt it based on the way we saw him play. Jared, you and I talked about this, that I thought Bryson Cusdahl could go somewhere else, even in the Big Ten, and be a starting running back for some of these programs, be the guy and get the lion's share of the reps. I think that there's a reason why he returned to Michigan. It's not because he couldn't get an offer somewhere else. I think it's because they see something in him and they expect him to be part of the offense. And then when you factor in, Jordan Marshall is going to get the lion's share of the carries. You got Savion Hyder coming in. I just don't know where Capana fits into the mix. If you start to get some injuries here and there, then yeah, there's no question about it. But I don't know. It's no knock against him. It's more so a credit to the running back room and depth that they have coming in there. And I think it's going to be a battle to keep your eye on and see how that depth chart shakes out. I'm really interested to see what happens with that position group because we know it's deep. We got to see who rises to the top.
Guys might still be moving. You know what I mean? Capana might have to go somewhere else to play a different position too. I mean, that's a deep room, like you said, and it's young. It's got some youth there.
Yeah, right. What does he move to slot? Does he become a safety? You never know.
He was a good athlete in college, in high school. I mean, I think he played in, and I could be way off here, but I think he played like Bishop Gorman or whatever, and he had like 6,000 yards or some crazy nonsense. But he had a knee injury in high school, and so I think he's had some injuries here too. And that's where that running back thing comes in, right? It just wears you out, like
right, exactly.
Getting hit every game, 40 times in high school, every game, and they're studs, so they played as freshmen in high school. Good Lord,
you're
talking tens of thousands of hits before you even get to college.
But yeah, I don't know. Two-way player, maybe. You got Smith Snowden from Utah, defensive back who plays too well. You got Celesi Moa coming over, who's I think Michigan initially under Sharon Moore was trying to recruit him as a defensive back, and I think he wanted to play offense, which is why he committed to Utah. And then I think that was what ended up bringing him out to Michigan, is because he wants to play on the offensive side of the ball. But you got a number of guys over there that could potentially be two-way players and sort of mix and match. Throw Taylor Tatum into the mix from Oklahoma. So,
bottom line is get your best athletes on the field in college football, man. You know what I mean? Start with Travis Hunter. He was just the best athlete on the field sometimes, and it mattered.
Tony Petrosky's already looking forward to the spring game. Jesus, Tony, take a break.
National championship just ended 7 minutes ago.
All right, take a breath here. Take a break. We don't need. I love college football, but
I'm looking forward to the spring game too.
I am looking forward to it, but I'm also looking forward to just taking a little bit of a break. These last 2 seasons have been exhausting. They've been exhausting. Last 2 seasons have been exhausting. I just need a little bit of a break. I need a little bit of a break from the college football thing.
It's so hard on you.
Again, I'm only going through the question marks that I see here, so I'm not trying to skip anybody. Can do, will do, Sucka again from the YouTube pages. Now that we've had some time to digest the Whittingham hire, are there any other available coaches that you would have wanted instead? Within reason, don't say Nick Saban. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair question. And, maybe this is a byproduct of us being a homer. Jared, I can see you've already made your mind up, right? There's nobody else you can think of?
No, I mean, he says that available coaches, right? So, again, Dream World, you hire, whoever, but that were available now that it's shook out. And the part to me was that they never really even mentioned him really until towards the end. You're right. So when we were talking at first, you were talking about, Arizona State coach, Alabama coach, you know what I mean? And Urban Meyer and all these crazy things, but they did for whatever it's worth, they did a fantastic job of keeping the lid on the fact that he was a target until the very end. And then we started looking at it like, oh shit, I wasn't bought into it at first. You convinced me with your eloquence. Talked me into
I'm a
it.
Fanboy.
Correct. Yeah.
I'm always going to be glass half full.
You love old white men, dude, and it's very obvious. So
don't you never call me man the game.
That's what it sounds like when you're talking about him and Cignetti. It's just ludicrous to me. But no, I think I think it's great. I can't think anybody else now that he's here and we have the staff and we have the players that he's brought. And from today, knowing what I know today, no, I don't think there's anybody else that we should hire.
No, same.
Absolute home run.
And again, I think I go back to what I've said multiple times about Whittingham is he wasn't a guy that was on my radar. I heard about him stepping down from Utah and I thought that was just it. I didn't know, to me, that meant retirement. I didn't know that he was going to be an option. I will say that the first time I really got to know about Kyle Whittingham was Jim Harbaugh's first year back when Michigan had to go on the road and play Utah on the road. And I didn't really know much about Utah at that point. I remember they were talking about Utah at Utah in prime time. It's a buzzsaw, and Kyle Whittingham and what he's doing with the Utes out there. And so I read up a little bit on it. And I was like, holy shit, like Kyle Whittingham's pretty legit. And then you saw what happened in the game where Utah ended up winning the game. And from that point on, I've always been somewhat aware of Kyle Whittingham and what he's doing with Utah. But he was never a guy that I thought was like, in this coaching search after Sharon Moore, was never a guy that was on my radar. But since it's happened, I've gotten to learn a little bit more about him. And then you hear him talk and sort of the way that he wants to go about his business. I just think that this is the guy that Michigan needs right now. We all know that he's not the long-term solution at 66 years old. I mean, you're going to get 4 or 5 years out of him. Yeah. But I think that he's the type of guy that's going to set the program back on the right track. And I think it was imperative. And there were a lot of people that were concerned about this when Michigan was going through its coaching search. They're like, you got to get somebody who's tied to Michigan. You got to get somebody who's a Michigan man who understands how things are supposed to work at Michigan. And Jared, from my standpoint, it was like, you need the opposite of that at this point. You got to get somebody who has no idea what's going on. And not everybody that doesn't come from the Michigan bloodline is going to turn out to be Rich Rod. And I think Kyle Whittingham is going to be a great example of that. I think that he is going to put this program on track to do what we all expect it to do. It already feels like when you see these little videos come out where they've already started winter conditioning and they're doing the weightlifting and all that stuff, and you listen to Kyle Whittingham talk about wanting to get back to the business of football, it really does sound like I think that there's a fundamental shift taking place in that business where before it was buddy-buddy, before it was just sort of like, I don't know, no real leadership in the building, right? No real guidance in the building. We kind of know why now.
No adults in the building.
I don't think that's happening under Kyle Whittingham. I think that there's some structure. I think that these guys are going to be challenged in ways that they haven't been challenged in a couple years. And I think that when fall rolls around, you are going to see an incredibly mature and disciplined Michigan football team with a legitimate leader leading the way and a coaching staff that knows what they're doing. And I'm just excited to see what that looks like for not just the near term of this program, but what it does long term for the program and the path that it sets them on. So that's a real long-winded explanation to say no. I think that this was a phenomenal hire now that we know what we know now. We'll see how it plays out because ultimately, we love him now, but Kyle Whittingham's going to be judged by wins and losses. And unlike a first-year guy who maybe gets the benefit of the doubt because he's still trying to learn or whatever, Kyle Whittingham's bringing 3 decades of coaching experience to Ann Arbor. He's bringing an experienced staff along with him. I don't think there's going to be much patience or getting over the hump or whatever. I think the expectation is that the results are going to come immediately. And then when you couple that with the fact that you're bringing back a quarterback who's now got a full year of starting reps under his belt, you got Andrew Marsh back in the fold, which I want to talk to you about Andrew Marsh a little bit after this. The defense is starting to take shape. To me, when I look at this roster on paper, they have all of the pieces to be competitive. It's just a matter of when you get into those big games, when you're on the road in Eugene against Oregon, do you look like you belong? When you go down to Columbus, do you look like you belong? And when Oklahoma comes to Ann Arbor, do you look like you belong? Can you welcome Indiana into the building and look like you can compete with Curt Cignetti? I mean, there's so many intriguing games on the schedule next season that are going to be really interesting to see how Kyle Whittingham goes about his business and how well coached this team is.
When your wife asks you if you want to go out to dinner somewhere, the answer is no. Do you say like 4 hours worth of stuff about it?
I do. I go through.
Let's start at the appetizers, hon. Okay. And then you just say no.
The cut of meat I prefer. It goes back to 1876.
You're gonna want to get some water for this.
In a small butcher shop. Take a seat, young lady. Listen, I'm gonna fill an hour somehow.
She says yes. She said yes.
We're at an hour and 12 minutes.
She said yes.
Here I am trying to fill an hour.
Yeah, what do you?
Oh my god! Game. I don't know what this means. See, I don't see all the shit talking.
I love it. Yeah, you got to catch up. They're getting you now.
Right, here we go.
She immediately said yes. I love it.
Bullshit. So see, I try to get on here and do a live podcast, and I end up taking friendly fire here. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to cover here. Let me go to my list and see if there's
the Marsh thing. I think you want to talk about that.
Yeah, maybe let's touch on that.
I don't think it's much to talk about.
Well, let me phrase this in the way that and it's going to take me about 7 to 8 minutes to go through it all.
I'm going to go take a piss. I'll be right back.
All right, so I had mentioned that there was a photo that came out, and then subsequently there was a video of Andrew Marsh working out with the team, and I was like, hey, clearly Andrew Marsh is still working out with the team, so whatever, no official announcement has come, but it's clear that whatever the reason is, we haven't gotten an official announcement. It's not keeping Andrew Marsh from participating in team activities, which I thought was a good thing. I was surprised to see how many people came back and said, well, why would he need to announce anything? He doesn't have to announce anything. He never entered the transfer portal. There doesn't need to be an announcement. And Jared, I guess I understand where people are coming from to a certain extent, but I'll ask you, do you not find it strange at this point that, Andrew Marsh is one of your top players overall, certainly top 3 offensively, that's presumably coming back. Do you not find it strange at all that there hasn't been any sort of announcement at this point?
So I saw that, you posted that in some people's comments. And so I thought about it, and I thought, man, from a leadership perspective, and this kid's going to be a leader on this offense, right? Like he showed he's an all Big Ten type player like this year. The leap forward is always going to be big in that sophomore year, I think. And he looks at himself as a leader, and maybe he's saying, you know what, I don't have to confirm because I never said I was even thinking about leaving. Why do I have to confirm? Maybe he's the opposite of these kids that are confirming they're coming back. Because we had that conversation too. Like, why the hell is this kid confirming he's coming back? He never even went in the portal. Like that's that kid's way of saying, I got my bag, I'm gonna stay. Maybe Andrew Marsh is like, dude, I don't have to say shit. I never said I was leaving. I never hinted that I was leaving. There was never really any rumors. So why would I say anything? I'm here. JJ McCarthy didn't have to announce that he was staying his sophomore year. Blake Corum, but it was still NIL. Blake Corum didn't have to, I decided to stay at Michigan. You know what I mean? No. And Andrew Marsh is like, dude, I'm here to play football. He's in the workouts. He looks engaged. So I'm hoping that that's what it is. He said, I'm going to be the opposite. I don't need to recommit to something I committed to. That's leadership right there. I think that's beautiful. If that's right, if I'm way off and he transfers somewhere else tomorrow,
he can't
like an absolute idiot.
That's the thing. He can't transfer. The window is over, right? The window is back.
College football. I don't know if there's any rules, Chris.
I was going to say, but there's also that element. Like, who the hell knows? You could file some sort of thing with the NCAA, and they're like, "Fuck it, we can't go to
don't care anymore." Yeah,
whatever. Just do whatever you want to do.
Sue us. Just don't sue us.
Here's what I would say. I agree that I don't think Andrew Marsh needs to make any sort of definitive statement. But where I was at with this more so was that Michigan, like the University of Michigan football program, has been making these announcements. Like Blake Frazier never entered the transfer portal, but Michigan announced that he was returning. Bryce Underwood never entered the transfer portal, but Michigan announced that he was returning. And for over 20 guys that they've announced were returning, the vast majority of those guys never entered the transfer portal. And so for me, it's not so much about the player announcing it, but for some odd reason, and we know that this is what's happening now in college football, there are official announcements about guys who are on your team coming back for another year, and Michigan has been taking part in that. And so because Michigan, the official account, has been making these announcements, I was just a little bit surprised that we hadn't seen an Andrew Marsh announcement yet. Now, I understand.
Are those Champion Circle, though?
No,
like that picture.
It's coming from the University of Michigan,
but it doesn't say Champion Circle anywhere on it. Like they signed with okay, that's straight up.
I mean, we can double check. I mean, so your thought on this is it's just
he could have signed with somebody else, right? Because you don't have to sign with Champion Circle because you're at Michigan.
I see what you're saying.
You know
yeah, there's nothing. I mean, I'm looking at Eno Etta's announcement right here. There's nothing with Champion Circle on it. It's just Michigan. It's this LFG 147 thing, and they're making all these announcements. And so I think, Jared, I think you're living in kind of a fantasy land, putting it on like leadership, and he wants to set the right. I think this more so.
Go bash this 18-year-old kid now. Go ahead, bash him. I gave him credit for being mature and a leader, and you're about to tear him down.
No, I'm not bashing him. I just think the reason that you haven't seen an official announcement yet is because they're still hammering away details. And I think that was what some of the reporting was, that Marsh looked around a little bit and was unsure what he wanted to do. And I'm sure whatever representation he has was fielding whatever offers were coming in. It always seemed like he was leading toward Michigan. And so it sounds like the holdup or delay, at least in terms of making an official announcement, is just making sure that contractually everything is agreed upon and where it wants to, where everybody wants it to be. But at the end of the day, there will be an official announcement for Andrew Marsh coming back, even though the transfer portal is closed. He never entered. It's clear that Michigan is going to go through and continue making these announcements for players coming back. I just thought it was I thought it was a little bit strange that here you have a guy who's, top 3 on your roster offensively, and there's been no announcement. Why is that? I wonder why.
I hope there's never an announcement, and I hope it just drives you insane.
There
Because
will
I'll bring
be-
it up every day. I'll be like, dude, day 193, no announcement.
No
And
announcement.
you'll be like, he played last night. Yeah, but there's no announcement that he's back on the team.
When's Michigan going to announce it, though?
Yeah, he graduates and goes to college, goes to NFL. I'll still tell you, no announcement.
When Michigan makes that official announcement, I will be very annoying about it, and I will talk about it on this
Yeah, fair.
podcast.
It's fair.
at length.
Fair.
At-
Until
I
then,
will
I'm
go-
gonna text you every day at 5:00 in the morning, dude. No announcement from Marsh.
I will
That's what
gloat.
we'll start
I will
today.
talk about how I was right. That's just the way things will work here.
No.
All right, we're at an hour and 19 minutes. I don't know. Is there anything? CJ says you really think he stays out of the portal with no deal done? Yeah, I mean
Portal's
you can't.
closed.
You can't go in the portal.
Yeah,
You
there's
can't go
rules to college football, dude.
But
There's
Jared,
rules.
to
CJ,
your point, here's the thing. I think a deal will get done. I just think it's, for whatever reason, I don't know what this deal entails. I'm not sure what the issue is, but I think a deal is going to get done. I think he's going to stay at Michigan. It's just it's a little bit puzzling to me why we haven't seen the announcement yet. That's all. That's all it is. It was that innocent, Jared, and I had people jumping on my shit
I know,
about
it's ridiculous. People,
why would he need to make an announcement? He never entered the portal. It's like, did you not see what Michigan's? They're announcing everybody. It's not a me thing. This is a you
get
thing.
off my grass, you kids? Yeah, that's what you sound like right now. Arr. If I
Jennifer
could catch
Thomas
you,
on
I
the
would.
Facebook page says, Chris, are you going to be at the hockey game on February 26th?
You need to go to
I
one, bro. You
doubt
need to
I
go
will
to
be
one.
at the hockey game, but I have been itching to go shoot a hockey game for a very long time and have just never really pursued it in any serious way. But I do think I would like to shoot some other things other than just football.
Damn it, Seth.
You know what? This is offensive to me on several levels that I'm not even going to go into on this podcast here. Don't you ever.
What the hell is even that?
Don't you
Seth
ever.
nailed it, and he doesn't
that.
even know.
Don't you ever ask a question like that on this podcast again. I know I don't think I'm going to be at the hockey game. Tony, is this in reference to the hemorrhoid cream or the hockey game? I'm not exactly sure.
Knowing Tony, it's the latter.
Could be the latter. Sure. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to be at the hockey game. I would like to shoot other games and other sporting events. And that might be something I try to explore, but my understanding it's probably a little bit harder to be a photographer at a hockey game because unlike the Michigan games, they don't have 40 or 50 photographers on the sideline. I would assume it's pretty limited spots for hockey.
Yeah, be cool though.
It would be
It says,
cool.
It says Ron is going to be the hero of the game. That must be her husband.
I believe her husband, Ron, is going to be hero of the game. Well, that's really cool. Congratulations on that. Yeah. I mean, certainly if I'm there, I would love to get some photos of that. And I wonder how that happened. It's a pretty cool thing to happen to your husband. No doubt about it. Matt Kirby says preparation. H.
The
The new life
favorite.
from YouTube. The new life says with retention being so important, you'd think they'd announce Marsh after the season he just had. Yeah, I mean that's part of it. It's again, I think an announcement's coming. I just think the reason we haven't gotten it is because they're still working through some things. I don't know. I don't think I have anything else. We're at an hour and 22 minutes here, starting to ramble on. We're talking about hemorrhoid cream. Now we're talking about preparation H. We're talking about
We officially did go off the rails as you predicted pre-game, pre-show. Yep.
it always happens, but this is what happens when you go like an entire week without a show. So, Jared, listen, we'll hop off the live here and we'll talk about the schedule and potentially what we want to do for next week. But we're gonna have to start to pivot to this Michigan basketball team. It's weird to me.
Are good.
People, they are good, but there are people that are freaking out when Michigan doesn't win by like 25 or 30 points. They're like, "What's the issue with this team? What's the problem?" It's like, I don't know. You win by 10 points. Like it's back to normal basketball now, and I don't
You're
really
in the grind of the conference season. It's a grind for basketball.
Did we really think they were going to maintain an average of a 38-point win throughout 30 games?
And what people don't fail to realize, UCLA's coach called it out. Cohen, or I think is his name, right? He said, now the Big Ten is nationwide. You're playing. I mean, you're flying thousands of miles. Like it's going to get exhausting for these kids. You know what I mean? It's not college football where you fly out to LA. You know what I mean? You fly back a week. It's a week. These kids are going to be. Yeah, they're going to be exhausted.
I mean, it's a lot, but I think
they're a talented team, though, man. They're talented.
They are a talented team. This team is built to make a deep run in March, and I think 100%. That we're for sure going to start to make the transition because I like I said, I love college football. I love Michigan football, but
Ohio State tomorrow.
we got to start to shift the focus to Michigan basketball a little bit. Yeah, they play the Buckeyes. They're gonna raise the banner
Burke
in Chrysler and celebrate Trey Burke. So that's going to be something. An Ohio native, nonetheless. But yeah, it's going to be awesome to see. So there's plenty of reasons to start really focusing on basketball and what they've got going on in the hardwood. Jared, you and I will talk about that and sort of how we want these shows to shake out moving forward. But once again, like, decent crowd in here, for about an hour and a half, listening to a couple of dinks just stumble their way through college football postseason, and how courtroom procedure is supposed to work. I mean, preparation. We covered it all tonight. And when we come back next week, I'm sure we will, who knows what we'll tackle then. But I do appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Until next week, I appreciate you all. I appreciate you, Jared. Take care. See you.